Apologies, I'm back. Tom Vecchio did a great job holding the house down on Friday and Tuesday, but I am back here, back from my vacation, back from Chicago, and back to talk more MLB DFS. And I come back here and get to talk about Garrett Cole in what is a really weird situation because I don't know what to expect out of Garrett Cole today, going forward in general. I guess we shall see. But unfortunately, I've got to decide because we got him on tonight's slate for MLB DFS. So let's get set for tonight's slate and try to see how we should play things for today on FanDuel. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions about tonight's MLB DFS slate. As always, no matter where you are watching, you can hit us up with questions. We are taking questions from Twitch, from YouTube in the chat section, and from Facebook as well. So no matter where you're watching this stream, feel free to get those questions in and fire away with what is on your mind for today's slate. And as mentioned, Garrett Cole is the top pitcher for today. He checks in at $11,500. And if it were like full-on Garrett Cole, I don't think we'd question this too much because Cole, obviously a tremendous pitcher. He's worth 11.5. The Twins will strike out a decent amount. So if it were just Garrett Cole with no outside stuff going on, sure, I'm in for sure. But as you've likely heard, Garrett Cole, his spin rate went down on his everything last week when they were talking about potentially enforcing the use of sticky substances for pitchers. Garrett Cole, you can see here the movement on his four-seam fastball was the lowest it has been all year by a decent margin. That's the vertical movement. The horizontal movement was also down on his four-seam fastball. That's where you're going to see the effects of a decrease in spin rate is on the movement versus the velocity. We did see that with Garrett Cole. So it does seem like there was an impact with Cole making some changes. Who can say what that change was? I'm sure it was a coincidence that it was on the same day as all the stickiness discussion was occurring. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that we should probably expect some changes going forward for Garrett Cole, but still a 15.2% swinging strike rate in that game. He did get the Rays to chase some pitches outside the zone. They were seeing him for the third time this year and the second time in 5 starts. So to me, I'm not crossing Cole off my list. I am downgrading him from where I had him previously, but I'm not crossing him off my list. And I think that's the way that I'm going to view Garrett Cole for today. We can talk more about that as the show goes along, though. But let's start things off here with the questions over on YouTube, talking to Kyle. Do you like Wainwright tonight versus Cleveland? He's usually pretty solid at home. So let's pull up Adam Wainwright's numbers here on the pitching sheet. Adam Wainwright is over his past 9 starts. He didn't throw a sinker much in his first 2 starts. So in 9 starts, with that sinker usage being up, he has just a 22% strikeout rate. He is a solid real-world pitcher. You see here a 4.00 skill interactive ERA, low walk rate, good contact suppression, bad offense on the opposing side. He is a very good real-world pitcher in this split, but the strikeout upside is not there. 22% strikeout rate, that's not quite enough for us to get jazzed about in DFS. He's going deep in games, and that can sometimes produce upside, but let's pull up the numbers here and see what the strikeout numbers look like once we're looking at them just from a raw perspective as opposed to a rate perspective. Yeah, he had 8 strikeouts in that first game. Outside of that, though, not a whole lot in terms of upside. So I would say Wainwright is not like a terrible idea, and I think that he is a good real-world pitcher, but it's just hard to generate a lot of upside for daily fantasy when you're not getting a lot of strikeouts. We'll see this here, and you'll look at the game logs for Wainwright: 28, 27, 49, 50, 23, 49, 52, 27, 30, 30. So, like, he can have some, like, 50-point games, but can he get me, like, realistically 60? Probably not. Whereas I think that some guys, obviously Cole can. I think there are a couple others who at least have that within the range of outcomes. That's why I'd be lower on Wainwright. Just not enough strikeouts for me. That's not the way I tend to play things. The good thing for Wainwright is that there aren't a ton of guys in this slate who get strikeouts. It's not like you're losing a ton. But for me, I prefer to shoot for guys with a more realistic ceiling than what Wainwright has. So not a bad play, high floor play, but I prefer to shoot for ceiling personally. Alvin. Kind of a loaded question, but are you on any of the Rays, Reds, Dodgers, or Angels? Okay, let's go one by one here. Rays facing Patrick Corbin. Not opposed. His ground ball rate is pretty high. That's why I'm not super high on them, but he hasn't been getting a lot of strikeouts, has been letting up hard contact. They've got some guys who can make hard contact versus lefties. I think that they're more so one-offs looking at the righties. Harder to get to a full stack for me because they have most of their good players are lefties. That's tough against Corbin. So some potential one-offs within the righties. The Reds are facing off with Brett Anderson. I think there was some potential rain in that forecast. I think that they work, though. Anderson, similar to Corbin, gets a lot of ground balls. 25% fly ball rate against. This is over his 9 starts this year, but some hard contact, not a lot of strikeouts. I think the Reds definitely work. I prefer the Brewers in that same game over the Reds, but I do think the Reds are an option for today, specifically the righties there. The Dodgers are facing off with Tyler Anderson. He is a lefty. He does let up a lot of fly balls, at least in the split. This is his 6 starts since his velocity decrease for Anderson. Decent amount of hard contact, but a 4.13 skill interactive ERA. Dodgers, we prefer them against lefties or versus righties as opposed to lefties. Check out the results for Anderson this time to see what things have looked like for him in that stretch. Results can be fluky, but they can also give us a good indication. Okay, so he let up 9 runs against Atlanta. They're pretty good against lefties. A lot of hard contact there. As a result of the fly balls, we have seen some dinger issues for him, but not a great park for hitting in Pittsburgh. I would say they're okay. If I were choosing between stacking the Dodgers or stacking the Rays against Corbin, I would say prefer the Dodgers. So Reds above both, but then Dodgers, then Rays, and then the other one was the Angels. Angels facing Brad Keller. Keller, another big ground ball guy. Strikeout rate has been on the rise. Whereas past 5 starts, he has used his slider 34% of the time. In that time, 24% strikeout rate, just a 20% fly ball rate allowed. That's enough where I'll be low on the Angels. Also a cooler park for today. So if I'm ranking those 4, Alvin, I would say Reds, I forgot which ones they're doing here. Reds 1, Dodgers 2, Rays 3, Angels 4 would be the way I'd rank them. I'd rank all of them below the ones we discussed today. So that would be below the Mets, below the Orioles, below the Red Sox, and below the Brewers. So they'd be outside of there. I do think that, as mentioned, the Dodgers, the Reds do work, and I think that they're like in that 5-6 consideration in terms of how I'd rank the stacks, but they are behind those other 4 for me for today. Mention the stacks I like quite a bit. Let's talk about why for some of them. The Brewers are facing Vladimir Gutierrez. It's a small sample on Gutierrez. He has just 2 starts in the majors, so you could overlook these numbers here as being a bit fluky because it is such a small sample, but Gutierrez in the minors also had some issues with similar stuff that he's had issues here so far, specifically not getting a lot of strikeouts. That leads to a lot of balls in play. The walks have been up too. The one reason that I have you could have some mild concern here is that he's done a good job so far limiting hard contact. It's across 29 balls in play. That's about halfway or 33% of the way to the stabilization point for batted ball numbers. So it's a non-negligible sample, and he's been very good there. And also, if you look at his numbers in AAA, it seemed like he was doing a pretty good job with that as well. We don't have actual hard hit rate data on numbers in AAA, but he had good results, and that'll sometimes be tied to batted ball numbers. So that's one reason maybe you could poo-poo the Brewers. But if you don't go the Brewers, I think the Mets grade out really well against Matt Harvey. Decent batted ball numbers, but the plate discipline numbers are what pushes over the edge here. And Harvey specifically has been having a tough time versus lefties. You got Jonathan VR batting lefty, Francisco Lindor batting lefty, Dominic Smith, Billy McKinney, all those guys lefties facing Harvey. He does struggle versus lefties. So I think that's why the Mets are in play for me. Orioles very much just a tournament play facing Taijuan Walker. Walker has had good results this year, but the peripherals say he's someone we can stack against. As you can see here, a worse hard hit rate than Matt Harvey and a worse fly ball rate. And the Orioles put the ball in the air quite a bit. They've hit for more power than the Mets have based on their current active roster. They're at home. That's not a bad thing either. So I actually think the Orioles are a good tournament play. Alvin, you'll sometimes ask about single entry stacks for today. And I try to identify a second tier stack that I think people will go overlooked with. And I think the Orioles are that team. We just got a question on YouTube about the Orioles from Diffuse. Let's take that right now. You talked about the Orioles this morning. Can you go more in depth on that? And if you take an interest to anyone outside of Cedric Mullins and Trey Mancini, Diffuse, how dare you overlook the superstar Anthony Santander, the best player to ever grace a baseball uniform of any kind. We have to get him in there as well. So they're facing Taijuan Walker. Let's look at the platoon splits here for Walker to see if we need to be super wary of righties versus lefties, et cetera, et cetera. When we're looking at platoon splits at this point in the year, and honestly, at any point in the year, you don't want to look at results. Like you don't want to look at XFIP against or WOBA against. Those are going to be misleading in such a small sample. Instead, we want to look at things like strikeout rate. Strikeout rate for Walker, pretty similar between righties and lefties. A lot more walks against lefties and or than righties. As far as the batted ball numbers, he's let up more fly balls to lefties, whereas more hard contact righties. So I think that, Mancini is someone we'll be fine with as a righty facing Taijuan Walker. In general, we do want to go at the lefties. So Santander as a switch hitter, Mullins as a guy who will bat lefty versus Taijuan Walker. I would say both those guys work. Let's check out the numbers here for the Orioles versus righties. Honestly, Mullins has been tremendous this year. Super happy with what he's been doing. So no objections to him. Okay. DJ Stewart, I believe, is batting fifth. 221 ISO. He has a 30%. This is a regular hard hit rate, but a 54% fly ball rate. Not too many strikeouts. Santander, 202 ISO. He has a 36% fly ball rate. So pretty easy to fill out a stack there for the Orioles. Let's actually do this here. Let's put Garrett Cole in there. So if I'm going single entry, I'm probably going to go Cole personally. I think that's just where I'd wind up settling out. All things considered, it'd be Cole or Gomber for a single entry lineup. Let's go to the Orioles here and fill it out based on their lineup. I do want Mullins in there, despite the fact he's the highest salary guy. Let's get Santander in there, and I want to get DJ Stewart at $2,500. Once we do that, we have $2,960 left. And then Mancini, we'd plug at first base. It does mean we'd have to find some value elsewhere, so keep that in mind. Let's check out some other guys we could potentially turn to his value here. So Mountcastle, Maikel Franco, Freddie Galvis. Galvis actually does have pretty good numbers versus righties this year. He has a 180 ISO, 40% fly ball rate, good results there. Mountcastle, 168 ISO with a 44% fly ball rate. A lot of strikeouts for him. So I would say if you're looking to find a way to save some salary, I'd probably bump off of Mancini and then go to Galvis at shortstop. $2,500 gets you to 30.76 left per batter. I can make that work. So I honestly think that everyone 1 through 6 on this team is in play for DFS for tonight. So, maybe Franco. Let me check out Franco's numbers here versus righties. 145 ISO, not great results. Not a lot of hard contact. Not a lot. Okay, so 1 through 6. 1 through 6 here on the Orioles. The guarantees Franco goes deep tonight, by the way, that I dismissed him. That's just how this works. So 1 through 6 here in the Orioles, I think are all in play. I would say Mullins is worth the salary. I would say Santander, Galvis, good value plays. Stewart, a good value play too. And Mancini, worth the salary despite the fact that he is a little bit higher salaried. I think that is worthwhile for today still. So hopefully that helps. I think that the Orioles, again, tournament only because Walker's had really good results this year. And the Orioles are not a great team. So just for tournaments, but I do like them quite a bit for tournaments for tonight. Jerry over on Facebook, my favorite stacks for today are the Yankees, Dodgers, and Colorado. What do you think? So Colorado is facing Braxton Garrett. Braxton Garrett coming up from AAA, probably going to be more of a ground ball pitcher versus a fly ball pitcher in the Rockies. Although they're better against lefties, not a great offense, not a great park for hitting either. So I'm not super into the Rockies personally. Talked about the Dodgers before. I think they work against Anderson because of all the fly balls. So I'm okay with them. Not like a priority stack for me, but they're fine. The Yankees are facing Randy Dobnak. Dobnak's a big ground ball guy. 18% fly ball rate allowed so far this year. They're probably going to score a decent number of runs, but I'm not sure how many like individual huge games you're going to get against a guy who is such a big ground ball pitcher. So to me, if I were ranking those options, I would say Dodgers 1, Yankees 2, and then the Rockies 3, just because I think the Rockies stink, and it's tough to get super jazzed about them, especially in Miami. So I would say among those options, I would go Dodgers, Yankees, Rockies. None of them within my top 4, or even I would say 5 for tonight for me personally. Let's go back to Mateo over on YouTube. Hello, Mateo. Do you like Casey Mize versus Seattle? Let's go back over to the pitching tab here. Mize been getting a lot better recently. He had a rough start to the year, but big improvements. Over his past 7 starts with more splitters, he has a 4.03, or is it fewer? I think there might actually be fewer splitters. I think I wrote that wrong when I was doing my notes. Let's double check this here. We're all about the facts here on the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. Got to make sure we're not telling fibs here. Yeah, fewer splitters. I lied. I wrote that wrong. Okay, so 7 starts with fewer splitters for Casey Mize. 23% strikeout rate, good batted ball numbers. Mariners, not a great offense versus righties. 88 WRC plus, 26% strikeout rate. I think that Mize works. I talked about Manoah as being the top value for today after going with Cole and Gomber as the top higher salary guys. If I were to pick someone outside of them, like a 4th-ranked pitcher for today, it's very possible Mize would be that guy. Can't go Eovaldi against the Astros. Eflin's faced the Braves like 97 times this year. It's a pretty tough spot. Also, decent park for hitting, and I think there's some weather concerns there. So I actually might wind up on Mize as being my 4th-ranked pitcher for today. I think there's an okay gap between him and Manoah for the 3rd-ranked spot. Mize pitching really well, not a bad matchup. He's at home. I would say if your research led you to Casey Mize, I would go with it. Thumbs up. I think he works for tonight. No objections for me personally. Jerry actually asked the same thing. Jerry on Facebook asked about Casey Mize against Seattle. Yeah, I think 4th. I think he's ranked 4th for me. I would go Manoah above him personally, but if you get the read that Mize will be completely overlooked, whereas Manoah may generate popularity, I don't think he will because it's a tough matchup for Manoah against the White Sox, but I would say thumbs up is what I do for Mize, someone I'd be willing to use personally. Michael, other than the Red Sox lefties, he asked about Verdugo and Devers. I talked about Verdugo this morning. He's not playing. He missed another game today, so unfortunately, no Verdugo to us. Which righties would you go to? So we have Danny Santana batting leadoff for the Red Sox for today. He doesn't have like the best numbers. Let's pull this up here. I'm really trying not to get to Santana for today for the Red Sox, despite the fact he is batting leadoff and probably going to be a pretty low salary. Let's clear out the Orioles here and pull up the Red Sox lineup. I can never find these. I don't know why. I could just look at the Red Sox. How do I not find the Red? Okay, there we go. Found it. There we go. Whew, professionalism. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. So Santana is $2,200 batting leadoff. So far this year, he has a 200 ISO. He's hitting the ball in the air a ton, but a lot of strikeouts. Struck out a lot last year, too. There's a reason he started the year in the minors. I think that if we're looking at the career arc of Danny Santana, we're probably going to say that the 2019 season is more the outlier versus the others. So personally, I would rather not go there, but I also don't think it's like the stupidest thing. He's $2,200 batting leadoff in a spot that we like. I would prefer to not use him if I can avoid it. Hunter Renfroe is $2,900. I'm probably going to be okay with that, I would guess, just because lower salary, batting 5th, facing Odorizzi. I know I talked this morning about how he has become more traditional in his splits, platoon splits. Renfroe versus righties has a 177 ISO, 41% fly ball rate, not too many strikeouts, so that definitely works. So I would say I'm going to put Devers first, $3,700. Definitely is quite a bit. Arroyo is $2,400, lower salary guy. Let's see what we have here for him versus righty. 61 plate appearances, but a 167 ISO. Not a lot of fly balls, so that's not super enticing. I might have to go Santana just because I need the salary savings. Let's check out Marwin Gonzalez first. 067 ISO. Yuck. Again, because I'm poo-pooing him, guaranteed to go deep. Honestly, the Red Sox lineup kind of stinks for today. With Verdugo being out, that does impact the way I view the rest of the team. So I would say if you're choosing one of the value guys, I guess it would wind up being Santana. But like we'll go Renfroe and we'll go Martinez. $2,700 left means I'm scrambling for some value. And the other thing that's kind of annoying with them is that they don't mesh very well with the Orioles. And the Orioles are another team I want to turn to for value because the Orioles have a lot of outfielders I want to use. So I'm basically forced into using like Mancini and Galvis, and then I can get one of the outfielders, but they don't mesh very well. So I still like the Red Sox, but I would downgrade them as a function of Verdugo being out because it's one less good guy to use. And also, I don't know, just it does downgrade the line to not have him in there because there aren't a lot of super enthusing or there aren't a lot of guys in this lineup who enthuse me a whole lot, especially Gonzalez. Like it's really hard to get jazzed about him. I would say Santana among the lower salary guys is the one who stands out most to me. Mentioned this morning, I was okay with the Phillies as being an option. Don't think we talked about them yet. Their lineup is out, so let's pull up them. I think the Alec Boehm will give us some value here. He's batting in the 5 or 6 hole for today. We're going to go over to third base because I don't want him at first base. Yeah, $2,200 for Boehm. I think that's a really good number if you're looking for like a one-off at third base. Boehm has struggled overall this year, but much better numbers for him versus lefties than versus righties. I don't think you can justify using Boehm if there is a righty starting, but against a lefty, I can get there. Pull up the Phillies numbers here and sort by plate appearances versus lefties. Boehm, 131 ISO. 27% fly ball rate, a lot of hard contact, so it's not like the best profile, but there is enough there where I can talk myself into it when he is $2,200. So I think that is a good value play you can turn to there. Gene Segura has a 182 ISO versus lefty. That's not too bad. I don't want to prioritize him at $3,300, but I'm not going to write him off either. Bryce Harper is 37, but like that's not too much. I know it's lefty on lefty, but I don't care for him personally. I mean, it doesn't matter that it's lefty on lefty. I'll still happily use him. Then we're choosing between Hoskins and Real Muto. That's always tough. I always get it wrong too. I got it wrong last night. I didn't have enough Real Muto last night. 125 ISO, we're definitely going Hoskins. So we're going to go back to Hoskins again. I got it wrong last night, but that's fine. I'm okay. Banging my head against the wall. So the 3, 4, 5, 6 stack on the Phillies, the one that I like the most there. Couple salary savers. I guess it's mostly just Boehm, but I think that he does work for sure. Jerry, kind of want to go back to the well from last night with Cincinnati, Dodgers, and Baltimore. I think it would be a good idea or bad, even though you spoke on them already. Do like Baltimore a lot, so talked about them. Cincinnati is facing Anderson. Mentioned before, I think that they work for sure. Not a huge priority for me just because Anderson does get a lot of ground balls, but he's going to let up balls in play. They tend to be kind of hard hits, so I think the Reds definitely work. And then the Dodgers against Anderson, I think that I ranked them before. I would go Reds over Dodgers, and between those options, I would say Orioles over all of them. So to me, ranking those, Jerry, I'd go Orioles, Reds, Dodgers. None of them are cross-offs, I would say, though, Jerry. So if that's where you're leaning, I would be okay with them. But among those options, I would say Baltimore number 1. They are my number 4 stack for today overall. Let's see if there are other teams that I have not discussed yet. I guess we talked a bit about the Mets against Matt Harvey. Talked about the lefties there, prioritizing them. McKinney is a good lower salaried option for today. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else I had not yet discussed. Okay, so Brewers. Let's see if their lineup is out yet. Against Gutierrez. It is. Okay, so we got Urias. Ooh, Luis Urias batting leadoff for them. Daniel Vogelbach batting second. Yelich third. Narvaez fifth. I like this lineup actually quite a bit. I want to check out Urias' numbers versus righties. I've been using him primarily versus lefties. Haven't been using him much against righties. But that's also been because he's been lower in the order. So let's sort here by plate appearances versus righties. Narvaez, good numbers, 216 ISO, 41% fly ball rate. I'm going to want that. So let's clear out the Phillies here and build out a quick Brewers stack before we close up shop for today. Hopefully I refreshed late enough to have the Brewers lineup in there, and I did. Cool. Okay, so we're going to put Narvaez in there. Vogelbach versus righties has a 157 ISO, okay batted ball numbers, low strikeout rate. Batting second, though, for $2,200. I'll probably just bite the bullet and plug in both of them there. Mayor of Ding Dong City, Travis Shaw. He is a 152 ISO. Picking Vogelbach over him, but it's worth noting that Shaw does have the higher fly ball rate. So that's definitely at least interesting. And if you want a pivot, I would say Shaw will work off of Vogelbach, but Narvaez, I would assume, probably going to be the least popular option in that group. So keep that in mind. I would expect him to go pretty heavily overlooked. Yelich, we talked this morning about how I am back on him because he had a couple of barrels over the past 5 games. I think it's 3 barrels in the past 5 games. He's had 6 the whole year. So trending back up, that's a good thing. So I would say that's where we're at there. Let's check out Urias's numbers versus righties. I forgot to do that, even though I said I was going to. 190 ISO, got a stolen base, 36% fly ball rates, pushing the chips all in on Luis Urias. Okay, I think he's at shortstop. He is $2,100. My goodness. The Brewers stack is free. So we got Urias, who I think is great. I don't know if this is stupid. I could be very stupid. I'm probably very stupid. We'll talk myself into that. Okay, so Urias, 190 ISO, got some speed, bat and leadoff, $2,100, Phil's shortstop. Let's do it. We're going all in on Luis Urias for today. If I had to rank out the other options, I would say Narvaez, considering its salary, 2. Yelich is 1. So Yelich 1, Urias 2, Narvaez 3, and then it's either Vogelbach or Shaw being number 4. I might wind up going Shaw number 4 because the fly ball rate for him is so good, and I do think that that's pretty enticing in a park that is prone to some dingers for sure. I would go with Vogelbach as the next one up there. Avisail Garcia versus righties has a 214 ISO, not the biggest fly ball guy, but good results, some stolen bases. He slimmed down this year, so I guess I'd probably put Garcia above both Vogelbach and Shaw. So it'd be Yelich, Urias, Narvaez, Garcia, and then Vogelbach or Shaw, probably Shaw over Vogelbach, just because I think that he'll go more overlooked. So Brewers, really fun stack, makes it easy to afford. Garrett Cole makes it easy to get to the Red Sox. Your second stack, if you want to go with them, get to JD Martinez, maybe Xander Bogaerts, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that does make it a lot easier. So the Brewers were my top stack this morning. I had briefly talked myself out of it, but now that I see the salaries, now that I see Urias batting leadoff, I'm back in. So that's where we're at for today. I just realized it's 4:28. I went over by 3 minutes. Whoopsie daisies, but that is going to do it for today here on the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. If you are not already, make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter pages to get notifications as we go live each and every day here at 4 p.m. Eastern. Get those questions in. If you are watching YouTube, hit the like button because that does help us out quite a bit. We appreciate those of you who have done so already. If you have additional questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you tonight. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.